So next we have Tom Gatti, who is a partner at Twig, and Tom is going to share some information with us on gaining greater exposure through all forms of media during this time. Welcome, Tom.
During this time, it's not the time to sit back and wait for people to come to you or ask yourself how often can I just wait for somebody to come and talk to me about what it is that I do. This is a great time to I would call it not reinvent, but refine, repurpose, reformat everything that you are and who you are and what you say. Gaining the exposure through all forms of media basically means that it's all about content. And really what I want to say here is how to maximize your company's share of voice in your specific business vertical. We're talking, Twig offers a thing called active branding, which is something we've done for years, but it's a communication mixed, with the proper use of cutting edge technologies. And the bottom line is we have a lot here to utilize. There is not one marketing tool that is, I believe, better than another. I think they're all needed. And so we want to talk a little bit about how the content works across all of these mediums. Obviously you want to educate your audience, and many of you are already doing this. And there's never really been more of a demand now for that creation of content. And as I said, reformatting, refining it, sort of repurposing it is critical. I don't know if all of you know this or not, but there was a phrase where, I wrote down content is king. That phrase was actually coined by Bill Gates in January of 1996 when he wrote an essay titled Content is King, which he published on the Microsoft website. The interesting thing is he began by saying, content is where I expect much of the real money will be made on the internet, just as it was in broadcasting. And he ends with, those who succeed will propel the internet forward as a marketplace of ideas, experiences, and products, basically a marketplace of content. So we've evolved to that point. I got to believe that the Bill Gates is smarter than I am. So what do you do? Well, you write content that's relevant to the audience. Now it sounds really simple and sort of basic that, a dull moment. Of course, we're going to do that. But I think you have to look at whether you're talking to the end user or a company as manufacturers, are you making an end product for the consumer? Or are you making a product that's going to help support the operations of one of your clients? So you have to understand and you have to write that way. You have to be authentic. Everybody talks about being authentic, and I talk about it in terms of written, as if you were personally sitting in front of somebody describing what it is that you do about your brand, your product, to that individual directly. Simply put, being authentic means staying true to who you are. What you do and who you serve is critical. In an environment where more human elements matter, it creates value and benefits for your prospective customers, obviously, as well as it improves your business. And it has to be timely. Audiences want to know why you are different. Why you? Why do I pick you? So you have to sort of put that into your narrative, but in a timely piece, it's really that piece of the puzzle that people find all of a sudden, gee, I didn't know I had the problem. And now this piece of the puzzle actually fits better because I learned about it from something that you actually said. And I'll get into where you're going to say it in a minute, but it is that piece of the puzzle that actually can help people make decisions and not realize that they had another option. And I went through this recently with a client. They were looking for a manufacturer of something specific, and they thought that their options were in one direction, only to find out that we figured out there was somebody else out there that could do it a little differently. And ultimately, they ended up not only winning the project, but they've actually refined the whole product that these folks are making. So it was and they didn't even realize that they were going to have an issue. Or could the product have been built a different way and be fine? Sure. But this actually enhances the product, and I think it's going to be a better one for it. So, sharing the knowledge, something substantive. You don't have to give away the secret sauce, but our recommendation is that you build a series of thought leadership, client success, or project profile case studies. Basically, it's trying to figure out and use examples of how you've moved the needle for your own clients. The case studies and examples of applications that you've done, engineering successes. I mean, again, you don't want to give away the secret sauce, but how have you helped your customers solve a problem that they didn't either A, realize they had, or they came to you and were looking for that extra help. By doing so and sharing the knowledge, even though you're giving away some stuff, you're actually building your brand, but you're also building the relationship with those potential customers. When we talk about marketing platforms, and I mean everything, and it's all about the content. You can talk about stories or bylines. You can talk about the media relations piece. You can share it on social media. You can use that same information, that same content for e-newsletters. You can do drip mail. You can do it as a blog. You can create, vignette videos, downloadable white papers, things that people are going to want to use or want to know. But you've got all these platforms, whereas in the past you were, virtually relegated to buying ads. There's other ways of doing it, and so I'm not going to get into the paid piece of it as well. But there's ways to enhance everything that we're talking about when you're dealing with trade media, or social or e-newsletter, and enhance that even more. Audiences basically want to know why you're different. Okay, and I don't think there's much more to say other than that. The media placements, as I mentioned, is a big piece of what we do, but it's also, people look at it and say, well, it's just media relations and it's just PR. Well, it is and it isn't. It's great fodder for content, number one, but those you can utilize those stories, those bylines, when we're talking about, as I mentioned, the emails, the social media aspect of things. The great news about this is you can do long form placements or content on LinkedIn, as well as short form, and being out there and active, sharing your information in multiple places is where you want to be, because we don't know where that next prospect is going to get their information from. But we know one thing: we will ultimately drive them back to our website, or should drive them back to the website, to gain more information and to validate their thought process on why you. So whether it's doing it internally or using a firm, the only way you're going to do all of this stuff and make sense of it and spend the money doing it is by tracking and measuring. You've got to determine, what's your return on investment through key performance indicators. And that's where the CRM or marketing automation tools come into play. Sales automation tools are out there as well, which is definitely different than marketing automation, because it puts really the content in the hands directly with the salespeople, and it's different than marketing. Marketing is overall, the marketing automation piece is you plugging in information about the company, specifically giving them content that is showing you as a thought leader, and the sales piece of it is really just virtually one-on-one, or seemingly one-on-one with your prospect. Utilize whatever you do. I would tell you this: invest in CRM and marketing automation. It doesn't matter which one you use; you have to use something. Whether it's HubSpot, ACT has a new program out where they've also done CRM marketing automation. Salesforce is the big one that's out there. Everybody knows about them. And then there's little ones like less annoying CRM. And they are. It just depends on the business and what you want to do. You don't necessarily need the sales automation piece initially, but if you've got a group of salespeople that are out there, it might be beneficial for you to look at that. And the last thing is do web analytics. If you don't have Google Analytics on the back end of your website, you don't have stat counter, you don't have things that you can actually look at to see whether or not the stuff that you're putting out, whether it's email or social or things that are on your website, if you can't figure out whether or not people are coming there, you basically have just wasted the time and the money that you're going to put into this to market to your prospects. Other than that, there's a lot more to talk about, but that's gaining greater exposure through multiple forms of marketing tools.
All right, Tom, nice job. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.